Thank you so much for having me here tonight. It's wonderful to be here in Michigan, and I'm so glad to see so many of you here when you could be anywhere else here for this conversation about race and justice in America. In recent months, our nation has reeled from Michael Brown and Eric Garner's senseless killings and the refusal of consecutive grand juries to issue indictments. Important questions are finally being asked about the state of race and justice in America today, and people from coast to coast have been taking to the streets demanding real answers. We continue to live the paradox of a nation founded with the bold preamble that all men are created equal with certain inalienable rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, while at the same time, this nation at its founding denied all those basic civil and human rights to slaves and wrote into the original Constitution the rule that Black people counted as only 3/5 of a human being. This paradox of a nation born with lofty ideals of equality and freedom, but extending those ideals primarily to wealthy white men, is the founding paradox of our nation, and it remains a paradox to this day, even now as a Black president sits in the Oval Office. I know that I would dishonor the sacrifices of people like Dr. King and Ella Baker and many, many others if I did not acknowledge that my own life has been dramatically, greatly improved because of their courage, their sacrifice. But if we're going to ask ourselves honestly, how far have we come and where must we go from here? What is truly necessary as we work for justice in this new time, this new age, then I think we must first pause and ask ourselves, how do we measure progress? We can measure it in all kinds of ways. The number of people who are CEOs or leading Fortune 500 companies, the number of Black or brown politicians or presidents, or the number of people with 2-car garages and SUVs. Measuring progress in this way seems to make sense in a capitalist society where the goal is to compete to get more stuff. There are winners and losers, and everyone says they want to get ahead. Very rarely do we stop and ask, get ahead of whom? And what will happen to them, those who are left behind? I want to suggest that there's another way to measure progress, one that seems to have been forgotten in the years that Dr. King and Malcolm X were laid to rest. It's not a new measure by any means. To the contrary, it's very, very old. For centuries, it has been said by numerous philosophers and theologians that any society, any civilization must be judged on how it treats its most vulnerable members and its prisoners.